That's
Cool.
that's the workflow. All right, we're gonna go live. Again, no biggie for the first 15 minutes. We're gonna shoot the shit, watch the chat, and then we'll play the intro and we'll get it started. It is, and we're officially live. Let's pop up the chat and fix this for me. How's Valentine's Day for you?
Me?
Yeah. Was it amazing?
It was okay. I'm recently married. I've been with my girl for a long time, for like a decade. But we got married civilly. We're gonna have our wedding and stuff this year, and things got all. We've been married for a couple of months, so it was new. We had a lot of Valentine's days before, but this is like the first one as a married couple.
That's dope. Yeah, I've been with my wife for 14 years, about 5 married. So I've been around together. So this was real chill because we're not trying to go out and expose ourselves to anything. So we just kind of chilled, had a good dinner, watched some TV. I mean, it wasn't really. Again, it's 14 years, right? I told my wife every single day I love her. So like, I didn't go the extra step this year just because I wasn't. Man, I'm trying to wait until like the world is back to somewhat normal, right? You know what I mean? Everything feels so weird right now. So it wasn't much. It wasn't much on my end.
Yeah, it does. Thing, and we're pretty careful with everything going on. As well, so what can you do? Or just eat and chill,
Yeah. Plus, like, listen, I'm not gonna get in any kind of heat right now, so I'm not gonna go into it. But it's a very fabricated holiday, right? And I have my opinions about that. I'm not gonna go any further than that because I don't want to get in trouble at home in the chat. So
Hallmark holiday.
Yeah. So I'll leave it at that. So, but it was fun. It's definitely, especially. You know what I really enjoy? I have a lot of friends who are in like recent relationships, and you could tell, right? Because like they're like above and beyond. I'm like, yeah, I remember that. Like, I remember that. I remember those moments. Yeah. George looking balder and lighter. Yeah, that's my man George. You got a touch up for Valentine's Day.
I got a face peel.
Myself, they're busy. How much you got, dog? You just started another metro. I'm dropping shit. What up, Glenn? How you doing, Papa? Thanks, man. I got my wife got me some new headphones for Valentine's Day, some wireless ones, which I've been wanting. So I had to move some stuff, but now I have like wires everywhere that I kind of removed, right? Because I had like a jack system that I had my headphones going through, and I kind of removed a lot of that, and I just like, I gotta fix my desk. What's up, Masa? How you doing, Papa? I heard you're coaching this week.
Yeah, tore my hamstring last week, so I went to coach this week. And all I'm gonna say is I got 3 points, but it was frustrating to watch, to say the least. I know how GBS felt when you ask your players to do something and they can't do it. It's a little crazy.
But are you GBS with your hands crossed and mad, or are you more tuka and yelling at these fools?
Oh,
what was this?
Oh, dog. I was pissed, bro. Like, this shit was crazy. We couldn't even put like 3 passes together. We couldn't hold on to the ball. Like, I was mad, and then we were losing the second balls. Like, there was too many bounces. Like, we shouldn't be losing, bro. Like, I yelled out like all kinds of bad shit, like on my players.
But you got
what age? Though. What age?
Nah, they're adults, so they could fuck.
Oh, they're adults.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's yelling at other grown men.
I had to. So I started with the 4-4-2, and at halftime I just went like 3 at the back.
Oh, no shit!
Let's just go forward, and we got the goal. And as soon as we scored, like, they tied right back up. I'm like, fuck, dude. So I kept it 3 at the back for a minute, and we got the second goal, but then we were getting beat. So I had to go back to the 4-4-2, and we managed to hold on to the result. But it's just it was infuriating, to be honest.
that team any good? The guys you played?
No, we should have fucking won the first half, like 5. We should have been up like 5 something in the first half. That's what got me mad. Like, we created chances for like the first 5-10 minutes. And after that, it was like I'm watching like a bunch of kids that never played soccer in their life.
Oh, you've been mad. Oh, we lost. You come back right now and I'll fix it.
Yeah, so I was a little pissed, but shout out to Scotty. He got me an assist and scored the game-winning penalty. So
nice.
Shout out to my man.
We got the Nelson effect. We got Michael and Timmy here repping G30 Boys.
What's up, guys?
We'll go into it.
It's been fun, man. It's been fun. Yeah. Well,
sorry.
I don't know how much I should say now, but shout out to those guys. Yeah.
We'll for sure go into it and talk a little bit about G30 because it's definitely one of the new podcasts. A podcast that me and Masa both really enjoying right now. But we'll talk more about that once the show kicks off. But for now, let's just shoot the shit.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Cool. Shoot the shit. You guys watch any
what
games
up?
this week? For your season?
Oh man.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I'm in EPL. I'm a Chelsea supporter along with my brother Mike.
Boo.
Interesting to see.
You ready to lose next week? Atleti gonna smash in the Champions League, baby.
Champions League is back.
Yeah. I don't know what to expect with that team right now. I think they did Lampard pretty dirty. They didn't set him up to succeed very much. It's like putting Kino as the coach, like what do you want?
Man, to that exactly right. Like I don't know if you caught it when we were talking about Kino, but that's exactly my feeling. Like that guy's a legend here. You know what I mean? Like let's not bring him in here and fuck that up for him, right? Because like Lampard is a legend with Chelsea, but now he was sacked from Chelsea too, right? Like no matter what, like that's a thing, and I don't want that.
And he had, there were glimmers, but he's a new coach, man. I don't know. I'm worried about Christian being a US guy. I don't know. I heard some crazy rumor today. They were like, "Hey, Sounders they're gonna go after CP10." It's no way, but it's it makes you think. They got Dempsey when he got benched.
But it's crazy though, right? Like there's something there because for sure I was like, okay, Tuchel knows him, right? Because he knows him from Dortmund days, right? So I was like, okay, he knows him. He's gonna rely on him, and then he hasn't seen a starting lineup like since he got here, right? Like I'm not a Chelsea fan, so I don't follow them closely, but I thought I saw that like he hasn't gotten a start since he took over, right?
No, he's gotten a couple. Right, no, he's gotten a couple subs, but yeah, that's it.
Which is crazy because I mean I know he got injured, but he started off really well with Chelsea, right? Like early this season, he was on fire in the first start of the early part of the season. So we'll see. But I hope the worst for Chelsea. Maybe not Pulisic, but Chelsea. I need everybody to drop points. I'm an Arsenal fan, and we're not.
Oh
man, it's not looking beautiful. It's better, but not beautiful. Champions League is back though, right? Champions League, and more importantly, Europa League is back on Thursday. So we're excited for that.
That's where the real events go down.
Europa League boys. Europa League boys.
I've been said this for years. I caught a couple games this week. I actually saw more football this weekend, and I worked on Saturday than I have previous weekends. I watched A-League on Saturday night. I watched my team play at 9, top of the league, baby, Central Coast Mariners. And then I think I watched some Mexican League. I was watching actually the Atlas game today. But the best game I saw this weekend was the River Estudiantes game yesterday.
Nah, that show's negative.
Where the Gallinas took a L in the last minute to 10 men Estudiantes. That show was amazing.
That show was not amazing. No, I mean, that was not amazing at all. No, I seem to have a problem with your what you call amazing though. That's not right.
And I made some money on the Napoli Juve game. I put money on Napoli to win. So the odds were forever in the favor. And with that game, you never know, bro. It's honestly, you never know. So I took Napoli on that. So I watched that, and that's basically it. That's all the games I watched this weekend.
Nothing. are you a madman like this guy and watch all these obscure leagues as well, or you kind of stick to like the top 5 leagues?
Yeah, like top 5 leagues. I'm I've been busier in the last couple of years, but for a while I was paying close attention to the under leagues, right? Like the USL and the NASL and all that stuff before. I was weird about that for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can get into that later too, with Mr. Wild and all that. But
you go down the rabbit hole with that though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a super scary thing. Cause like and I'm not judging, but I see, I know a couple of people who do that, and like their analysis on like the obscure players that we're never gonna hear about is like, wait, like there's real time invested here. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, to each his own. Again, I'm not hating on them, but it's you're a little madman if you do that as well.
No, yeah, it's not so much lately, but I was in school for a while. I'm from LA, born and raised, but I went to school in Austin, and there was like a 4th tier team that played in a high school stadium, but their fans, and this is before Austin and all of that, their fans marched from the bar on the corner like every Saturday. There was like only 50 of them, but they did it every week in, week out. Yeah, marched the block to the match drunk.
Yeah.
Watch their team play in a high school stadium. That it made me pay attention a little bit.
Yeah, no, I listen, I gotta say there's something about that, right? I was able to go to ISC last year, which feels longer than that, and I met a lot of the supporters from the NXL and the USL, and the way they talk about like their grassroots and like how they're a small group, but they're like super tight and they do all this. It kind of it's pretty dope. Like we're spoiled. Rich Galaxy fans are spoiled as shit because we our fan base, for as much shit they want to talk about, like it's a big fan base, right? And you go to the stadium and it's you got our tailgate spot, and we got all these things for us where a lot of these teams, like I'm sure the one you were talking about, like they play in high school, right? So they don't even have a tailgate spot. They don't have all these little things, which I assume knits that group a little even tighter than it would otherwise, right? So it's cool. Again, that's just you guys are a little crazy if you guys go down that route and just gotta investigate all that, right?
They also they're pissed because of the league drops in like the big shiny team now, and they're like, what the fuck?
We've been here for yeah. I hear that. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm definitely. I don't watch as much soccer as I used to. I used to be a thing where like I'll get up 4:30 in the morning and go up to like about 2 p.m. right, like just watching games on Saturday. Wait for like the evening games, whether that's MLS or Liga MX, and then watch that too. Man, it's a little exhausting. You know what I mean? I watch there's some really dope Marvel shit going on. There's like dope Star Wars shit going on. So like I'd rather watch some of this stuff. So I haven't been doing it as much, and especially because like the teams I really follow are pretty shit. Right? Like Galaxy has been pretty shit. You guys know. Arsenal, and then even like Barcelona. Now I've always liked that style of football. Like, but like those teams are all just kind of really bad right now. So just not too intriguing to get up and watch them.
Attention in other places. Are you watching WandaVision?
Yes, man. WandaVision is amazing. It's I like the last 3 weeks. Like I've just like yelled at the end of the show, like yo, like you know what I mean. At the end, my wife gets it, but like I'm more of a nerd, right? Like I understand, like oh, this setting up this thing, like so I get like super kicked out. My wife's like, yeah, it's cool, but like, you're not 12, and I'm like, shut up, leave me alone. Let me be 12 right now.
Don't remind me. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, they're doing really good with that. Like, and you've seen that the last 3 episodes are gonna be an hour long each. Like, I'm all for that. Yes.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah. They announced it yesterday. I think. Dope. Yeah,
last 3
I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. Like, yeah, especially because like I'm.
It's crazy that they.
Over it.
No, I was gonna say it's crazy that like they've brought movie quality to a TV show, which is it like blows my mind. Like that alone blows my mind.
Yeah, like I don't know if you guys saw like the Netflix Marvel stuff they did with
that was good too.
Okay, yeah, they were good, right? And if they would have done that, I would have been fine with it. But like the level of production they're doing for these shows is like, yikes, man. I mean, like even like the Star Wars stuff. I don't know if you're a fan of Star Wars stuff, but like the Mandalorian stuff is ridiculous. Like that Mandalorian season was amazing. Episode 1 to episode 8, I think, or whatever. Was like the whole thing was just great. So, and they're doing the same thing with WandaVision. Disney Plus, like, take my money. Like, I'm there. Like, I'm there. I'm not going anywhere. Take my money. I'm all for it. All right, boys, let's get the show started. Hit it with the intro, and then I want to hit it with the smart intro. All right, let's hit the intro, and then we'll be right back.
Yo, what up? And welcome to another episode of Straight from the Stands, an unapologetic, unofficial LA Galaxy podcast, hosted by 4 my supporters who bring you their thoughts and views on everything related to LA Galaxy, straight from the stands. I am your co-host Smarts, alongside the always angry Angel, his counterpart level-headed George, and the man with the facts, Masa. This is Straight from the Stands.
Good evening. What up, yo? How's it going? Listen, I'm gonna get into this, but that's not George. Just, I'll let you know who he is, but that's not George. Just before the chat starts questioning, that's not George. He's not looking different, all right? He's not a deep fake. This is not George. Masa, how you doing, Buffy?
I'm good. Good weekend. I'm chilling right now. I'm barely awake, but the cafecito right now is about to smack. So
let's go.
Whatever.
Let's go, man. You're nuts for that. Hey, if I have coffee right now, I'm not sleeping until like 5 a.m. So
I'm gonna have one more after the pod and then go straight to bed, bro. That's how we do it over here.
I don't know how you do it. Like you've been doing that forever, and I don't know how you do it because I would not be able to sleep with that. And then as I hinted, like not George, Nelson from G30 Podcast. How you doing?
Hey, man. Thank you guys for having me. Good. I'm good. I'm happy to be ending my my weekend here with y'all.
No, again, I said off air, but thank you for hopping on. I always tend to do this where I hit people up like way too late, like shit happens and I skip my mind, and I'm like, oh fuck, George is not on today. And then I saw you. I think you guys tweeted something, and it just kind of like, oh, let's see if any of these guys are available. And thankfully, like you were. But G30 Podcast, talk to me about that because you guys are fairly new in the Galaxy content world. Talk to me about G30 and what you guys are about.
Yeah, man, it's good. We're doing Thursdays. For now, that might change. I do the show with my younger brother Mike and our friend Timmy. We started, doing stuff together. My brother and I had talked about it for a long time, like we were talking before, right? We all have these text chains anyway with our friends, right? So it's like, let's do it. And we started playing with Timmy on Chanchos, and I know there's a rivalry here a little bit between our teams. We don't have to get into that. But yeah, it's the Chanchos Boys podcast, and the reception has been really warm. I love that in our community, it's not about competition, right? It's everybody helping each other. And we took a lot of influence from you and all the other pods who have been around for a while. And we much appreciate the love and support, man. We do our 30-minute show and get in, get out. And, we'll see how long that lasts as the season comes. Maybe it'll be longer, maybe it'll be shorter, but that's what we're doing. We're just feeling it out.
You know what? Like, and we're talking about it. I trying to stop myself so we can have this conversation here. It's like, is that thing, right? It's that there's a lot of content right now and it's all G related, and I fuck with it so heavy because it's like not everybody resonates with my opinion, Masa's opinion, George's opinion, and Angel's opinion was on, right? Like we have a hot takes here and there. But the fact that there's so many other places where you get content for the G's that might be close to your tone or what you want to hear, like super dope. And again, I'm a fan of it. Masa was talking about how he enjoys your pod. And I'll say this, right? Like that 30-minute pod, fucking great. Like,
I appreciate it.
I love just kind of tuning in for 30 minutes and I'm out. Like I love that.
Nice, man. We appreciate it. Like I said, the love has been insane, and we really truly appreciate it. We were worried at first. It's like, who are these guys? Is everybody going to be like, who are these new guys?
Yeah.
With so many established other pods and stuff out, but it's been nothing but love, and we appreciate it. And that's kind of what our vision was initially. It was like, throw it on before the game. Most people drive 30 minutes at least, right, to go to the stadium. So let's do it. Yeah.
At least 30 minutes to get inside the parking lot and find parking. So you're good. You know what I mean? Perfect time for it. No, listen, and you guys got something going on. Masa was talking about like how the flow of the show is pretty good. I enjoy it. So keep it up. We're a fan, and anything we can do to kind of help you support, let us know. We're here for it. And again, thank you for hopping on today and being here because we appreciate it. Right, it's gonna be me and Lonely as Masa on this pod without a third.
Yeah,
So
you guys know I don't say anything. So thanks for helping me, dog. I get to stay quiet now for an hour or so.
It's all good. Great.
yeah,
Grateful to be here, guys.
I was just gonna cut pieces of George saying crazy shit and just play it out of nowhere. You know, it's like I have a conversation with somebody.
Like drop him in.
Yeah, just drop him in and say, "Well, fuck that," and then continue talking. You know? No, but I appreciate getting here. All right, let's get going. Some news, not too much. There was more activity this week than there was last week, so we'll talk about that. And also, I got a chance to, along with a lot of the support group leaderships. We had Outlaws, Lars, Galaxians, and ACB and V Block all had a chance to have a conversation with the coaching staff this week, or actually last week on Friday. So I'll go over some of the stuff that I can share, because again, they had trust in us to have the conversation with us very candidly, and I don't want to abuse that. So I'll talk on what I could talk about, but some really dope shit coming up with that. But we'll touch that after we get through some of these fucking rumors and news, huh? That's not a word. I'm pretty sure it's not a word. But let's talk about some news. Let's start out by Gordon Wild officially heading to Indy.
Indy 11, I believe.
Yeah, the Indy 11.
Indy 11.
What do we think of that? Like, cause actually, I'm gonna shut up and I'll say my piece up there. What do we think of Indy 11? Wild to Indy 11.
I'll go first. I mean, it's a right move as a player. I would too. You know, the coach that asked you to be here last year, they signed you because he asked you to be here. You didn't get enough minutes as you would think, and with the new coaching staff, I don't think he was gonna get the minutes. So it's the right move for his career. He's still young. He could still develop into something that, something better. We don't know that. We won't know that. Then he needs minutes. He can only get better if you play regularly, and I think that's the right move for him, and it's the right move for us. Honestly,
interesting.
Yeah.
Nelson, what you? Go for it.
Yeah, I'm in the same spot. Indy seems to be one of the more legit kind of lower league teams. Their name gets thrown around here and there. It's a shame we didn't really get to see Wild. He showed flashes, those late game subs. But we'll never know. He has to play, like Masa said, and what are you gonna do? He's not Vanny's guy. I don't know whose guy he was really. And I think that's a problem with a lot of these young guys left over, right? Like the Traores and all these, like whose guys are they, and Vanny being a project guy, I'm not at all surprised to see him kind of cleaning house, but I wish him the best.
Yeah, and I think you guys both make valid points, but there was that, right? There was a spark there. There was hints of quality there. And at least I was in the camp that I was hoping to see more of that this year, right? So like, I think both of you guys are right. Like, it was the right move for him, probably the right move for the G's. It's quite unfortunate because this is not the first time we see a player that shows quality get moved on and we don't hear about it anymore, right? At the same time, I could counter that and say we've seen like the puppy who we held on for long, or Jack McBean, who we held on for quite a while and never amounted to anything. So, we'll see it again. I just don't want it. Which might be like one of those cases where it comes back and a few years later he's playing the MLS side and we're like, damn.
Like Lassiter?
Yeah. Like Lassiter. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So again, I get it. There's no big drama over this. It's just kind of interesting to see a player that showed some promise being, kind of moved on. It's interesting. Let's move on. Oniel Fisher. He got officially announced today. I heard about this on Friday. And this is straight from Vanny. He's coming in as the backup to Araujo. Right. So I saw some talks in on the Twitterverse about like him, taking time from Araujo. Doesn't seem like it's the case. It seems like he's definitely here to be a backup for Araujo. With Araujo looking like he's gonna miss some time with international call-ups. Again, somebody with veteran experience has a ring. He's won chips, so like there's some spirits there. What do you guys think of this move?
Can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, can I jump in? I saw an interesting question about that. That was my question to add to this conversation too, right? Is he the starter or is he not, having won things and having experience? Does he push Araujo to the wing though? I saw some people talking about that. Like, is that a possibility? That's a question lingering. But in any case, I think there's been a question of what kind of experience we have on that back line, right? Like Bingham was experienced. People's experience. Like there's a lot of experience, but is it the right kind of experience?
Yeah.
And I think this might be the right kind of experience. But the lingering question for me is, does he push him? Does he push him up?
Yeah. And I have something to add to that when we talk about the conversation we had with the coaching staff. So we'll get to that. Masa, thoughts on Oniel Fisher?
I think he's gonna be a backup, plain and simple. I think Julian is too promising of a player. Is probably the most promising young player we have on our team right now.
Yep.
For us to, cut his minutes for someone who is coming back from a big injury, who got their option decline at DC. I'm not saying he's not a good player. It's just there's no way you stump those minutes, especially for a coach like Vanny, who's all about building and giving minutes to the youth players. I don't see it. So I think he's going to be a backup, and he's going to fill in the holes, when we need him to. And I think that's what he's here for. And that's it.
Yeah, and also, right, like Vanny very candidly said that he mentioned Fisher by name and said he was coming in as backup for Araujo, right? So let's set that out there. But it's really interesting what he's doing here, right? Because we have Villafaña on the left hand side, who has that experience and the right kind of experience, right? Not the Bingham experience or the people's experience, as Nelson was saying, but he has the right kind of experience. And now you have the backup to Araujo, who has a similar experience, maybe not as decorated or as known as Villafaña, but somebody who's been here, especially in the league, and won in the league. It can only be good for Araujo, right? I know last year, again, I was impressed with Araujo's work last year. I think we saw like a leap in his progression, but we also saw like some really dumb mistakes, right? Like some boneheaded red cards, just some unnecessary fouls. And I think Fisher could be a guy who helps him kind of level some of that out, right? Kind of reel him in a little bit, say, hey, you don't need to do that here, there, and also challenges him, right? Because it challenges him for a position that yes, I think it is Araujo's, but it's also Araujo's to lose. And if he slips, there is somebody there that could push him and take that. So it seems like this isn't a free. It seems like it's an experience. I'm curious to see what kind of contract length it is. I'm hoping it's like 1 year, maybe 18 months max, right? So we can have that freedom to move from it if it doesn't work out. But it's not a bad move. I fucks with it. Again, we're starting to see pieces kind of fall into place, and it's something we've been questioning for a couple of weeks. But it's slowly but surely starting to look like they're figuring this out.
You know what I fuck with the most? Another international player on a green card. That's what I fuck with the most. That shit is ridiculous, bro.
Let's go.
That's been missing.
About it. Yeah, Jamaican international too. He plays for the national team, so we might lose him too. A couple games, Hopefully not, but I think that's what they brought him in for. But we have to remember he gets called up to the Jamaican national team too, and there's qualifiers and Gold Cup and all that shit too. So we'll see.
Yeah,
hopefully it's for the better.
Yeah, and you know what? That completely went over my head. But that, right, like the non-international spot for an international player, because we've seen that way too often in the last couple of years, where like we bring players to international who are shit. Right, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. Who are just shit, and they hold the international spot where we could be using elsewhere. So yeah, you're right. That is super clutch. It just kind of sweetens the deal. Again, being the fact that it's on a free, being the fact that I think we dictate the length of the contract. And by all indications, it seems like Vanny and DTK are kind of on the same page and pushing for the same things. It makes me feel right. And again, I'll talk more about why I'm feeling better about this team than I was last week when we talk about the Greg Vanny conversation or the coaching staff conversation in a little bit. But this seems like to me a good move on what's like the larger scale picture for the G's right now. Another player who's officially gone now, it's Insua. Insua's out to Club Atletico Aldo Aldo Civi?
Aldo Vici. Aldo
Civi, no?
Aldo Civi.
No, I thought it was SIV. Whatever. Argentina.
Whatever it is.
I missed this. It's in Argentina?
Yeah, it's Argentina.
It's, the green and yellow.
Yellow. Yeah, and the thing about it is his brother plays there. So they're finally going to get to play together in Argentina, which is super dope. Hopefully it works out better for them than it did for us when Jonah and Gio were playing together. But not our problem. He's off our
Wait,
books.
that didn't work?
Yeah. I'm going to lean towards no. But he's gone. It's interesting, right? Because I didn't think Insua was bad. But I'll take Villafaña over Insua almost every single time for this.
Yeah.
Team.
There's bigger upside, right?
Yeah. I think so for sure. And it doesn't seem like this seems like a good move for him too, right? Because in the quote that I read is like it's a dream come true for them to play together. They always wanted to play together, it just never happened to kind of align correctly, and now it is. So I see in the chat says that we did Insua dirty. I don't know. It seems like it worked out for him, right? Like, listen, I think we just washed our hands because they worked out, but
he's not Vanny's guy, right? Like this is Vanny ball now.
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
I hear you. Too expensive. Yeah, like he was on a heavy salary. So again, yeah. I'm just listen. We parted ways. He found his way. I'm good with this. Let's move on. Insua's gone out to Aldo Civi. Please correct me or clown on me for saying that wrong, or clown on myself for saying dogs. Whatever. Just clown on one of us. Make fun of us. I appreciate y'all for that. All right, and let's go into this fucking never-ending saga that is Pavon.
Jesus. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go for it.
This is a question for you guys. Let's say he comes back, right? Let's say he comes back. What is the reception like by the fans in the community? Given the position LA has on these kinds of things, right? These kinds of dramas. What do the fans say? Open arms, or you see less Pavon jerseys? What happens?
I can't speak for the whole community as a whole, but I've been very clear on saying I can't fuck with him unless these allegations get completely cleared. You know what I mean? Like straight up. I just don't. I can't, man. He's a game changer, 100% game changer. As many people call him, MVP level player for the G's, right? Definitely a DP level. Like he's everything we want, and I want him back as a player. But if these accusations don't get lifted, if they don't get just completely dismantled, like I can't. I just can't support that, bro. Like, and I would hate for the G's to kind of turn the blind eye on this lane and not realize that my man is getting called out for sexual assault. Like, that's not something. He didn't run a red light. He wasn't driving while drunk, right? Like sexual assault, bro. That's not something light. At least in my eyes, I can't, and that's just where I stand. And again, I don't speak for the community. I don't speak for Masa or anybody else in this pod. I just speak for myself. And for me, I can't really fuck with him for that.
Masa? I agree with Rudy 100%. Like, as much as I want him to be here, and I feel like right now is the exact time to purchase. It could come back and bite us in the ass, bro. Like it's not a fun situation to be in for him, for the girl, for the team. It sucks for everyone, and I mean, I hope everything comes out good and his name is cleared.
Yeah.
I'm praying, bro. Like I'm really praying that if we sign this man, that shit was BS, and
yeah,
like I hope it goes that way. But I mean, if it comes back and he's guilty, I'm about to toss all these frames that I got with my man on. Yeah. And I have that shit in my house.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you the same way. Like it's got to be cleared, but it's a huge liability. Like I don't see why they do it. Which makes the reports coming out like even more interesting. Like what negotiations could be happening right now.
It is something we don't know that they know, right? Like, is there something to this case that they know that we don't know? I just, because I'm the same boat. Like, we got figures, right? Let me just go ahead and talk about this. 9.4 million for 50% of his rights, right? There was reports that came out shortly after that one that said that they were meeting up to potentially just buy him out straight out, just 100% of his rights. So there's figures here. Like, there's like real negotiations going on right now, right? Because I know for a while it went quiet and it seemed like they were both standing still. It seemed like actually moving. But there's reports saying that Gisela Marisol hit up the Galaxy and said, "Hey, there's this going on here. Like, we have this case going on here, and we're asking the enforcement not to let him out of the country right now for this, right? So like, it's not like it went away, right? And I'm actually okay with that going away. Like, I don't want to get it swept under the rug, right? Like, I want Pavon to come. If he comes, I want him to come and be like, hey, I told you guys I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. Like, she was wilding, or not to come at all because he has this on him, right? Like, either way, I just need it to be clear. And it's, man, I'm torn. I'm torn, bro. Right? Because like
we can't take him without him being clear. And if it's murky, then I don't want to mess with it. That's where I stand.
And it's fucked up, right? It's fucked up because it really is a player who could change the Galaxy's future. Right, it's all that. It's all that. But like, you have to, at least personally, I have to take a stance on what's right and what's wrong. And sexual assault, no way around it.
It's fucked up. Yeah, you can't. Yeah. TP spot is nice though. If it's open,
Yeah.
Another tool to play with.
Yeah, we have some there. Interesting though, right? Masa, you have been strong on that under 2 digits, 9.445. For 50% of his transfer. Did that seem right for you?
In my book.
Yeah. You would want to see lower?
I'm okay with the 9.4 just for a higher percentage. Yeah. So with that percentage, you're valuing Pavon at what, 18? 18, 20, somewhere around there?
19. It'd be like 19, right? Let's say 19, but round out 20 mil. Like,
but at the end of the day, the G's are paying under double digits, so shit, I can care less. I mean, if he's gonna be here, to me, last year he put up MVP numbers. If we would have made playoffs, he's in the MVP. He's an MVP candidate. Easy, simple, and that's on a shit team.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. You're 100% right, and I can't stress that enough, right? I can't stress enough. He's a game changer. Like, very few people in this league, he's a game changer, right? Fucking A, man. like this is bullshit.
It's a mess, man.
Yeah, it's so dirty. And of course, G's are all up on this. So,
Well, I mean, they kind of have to be. I think so, because it's like, if they turn their back on him, and it's like, well, we don't believe you, and then it turns out to be fake.
False accusation. Yeah.
Like, well, why the fuck would I want to go play with like over there? You guys know I want to play with you now. Like, I want to be over there. Like, it's like, you guys don't believe me, or what the fuck? It's type of shit, So
I agree.
It's a funny situation, bro. Like, it's a fucked up situation.
It is. It's a fucking situation to be in. But we'll keep tracking and we'll keep talking about it every Monday until this shit fucking clears up and figure out what the hell really happened. But it's the Pavon novela, as the chat was saying. It's the saga that we're waiting to see what happens. Here's another player who gets talked a lot about. Chicharito, right? Chicharito has been going hard. At least Instagram will tell you that, right? Because Instagram and his body will tell you that. Because my man looks yoked. Like, he has some definition going on. Okay, like, he's not the fat guy coming out with the extra large Galaxy kit, as somebody else said last week on the chat. Like, he looks fit. And you guys get a chance to read the story Kevin Baxter posted this week. Or was it last week? I'm sure. You guys
I would have read it, but I still don't fuck with Chicharito, so I just scrolled right by that shit.
I read it. It's a good article. I can't knock it, right? I don't like the author very much, but the article as well, or it's well written. It's a good article. And I'll just kind of recap it by, he's talking a lot about the debt that he has towards the fans and the club itself, right? He felt a debt towards GBS too, because he ended up getting let go when he had a shit season. It's a lot of hand raising saying, "Hey, I fucked up." Right, and you match that with his Instagram recently, and it seems like, hey, I fucked up, and I'm trying to do right by it. I'm trying to get in shape to do it.
If he didn't understand before, he seems to understand now. Time will tell. On our pod, we did a Who do you think is a big boom? Who do you think is a big bust? And he's my big gamble boom player.
Yeah.
I hope he shows up because he's our guy. We don't have a choice. And you have talked about this before, right? Like he's the guy.
Yep.
So I don't know. We got to support the guy.
mean-
He seems to understand.
He only has to score one more goal next season than he did last year for it to be a boom. So it's not a bad gamble, to be honest.
It's a pretty safe bet.
Fair.
Listen,
Fair.
it's interesting, right? I'll give my 2 cents on this though. Like, I would prefer him not to be doing this. I prefer him not to do the whole social media campaigning of him working out and getting fit, or having that article put out there with the explanations, everything he did. I'm a big believer that your actions will speak a lot louder than any of the words you do. Right?
It does seem to be like image rehabilitation, right? He's like cleaning it up too. Like that shouldn't go unsaid.
Yeah. Listen, I've been on Chicha's boat, like from the jump, right? I think I give him more credit than most people do for his smarts in the field. I think he knows how to read the box very well, find the spaces very well. He didn't show none of that last year, so don't take that for last year. Because last year there was none of that at all.
I was on the same boat with you. I said his movement off the ball is world class, bro. Not a lot of strikers in the world make those type of runs.
Yeah.
Those cuts are crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, that
We
was me
saw
hyped
none of
last
that.
year, and this year I'm just
I
don't know.
No, you're and you know from the jump of this season of Straight from the Stand season, I've been telling you, like, you and the rest of the community who's upset and mad at you have all the right to be, right? Because my man, like, he did not live up to what we expected at all. I mean, not even close to what we expected. So yeah, you guys are all in the right to be mad. That being said, though, like, if what he's putting out there, both imagery on Instagram and, like, you know, the written stuff, if we come out and just accomplish like some of the stuff that he wants to accomplish, like, he'll win this over. Because, like, LA, we like winning, right? Like, there's no ifs or buts, nothing. Like, LA likes to win. So if you could put some goals in and get points for us, get 3 points for us because you scored the goal, like, we'll get on your side pretty quick. And as a matter of fact, like, it's weird. You said image rehabilitation, and it kind of worked because I've seen a lot less hate on Chicha on social media, right? And again, social media is not real world, I get it. But it's my real world right now because I've been stuck at home for like the last year, so that's all I have. But it's a lot less hate. Like, there's more sympathy towards him, which I did not expect. You know what I mean? Which is interesting. So let's get in a conversation. What do you guys make of all that? Like I'm not seeing the article, but like what you're seeing online on his Instagram, and nothing you read the article. So all of that, all of Chicharito's image rehab, as you call it. What do you make of it?
I don't have a problem with it. You know, it's cool to me. I literally scroll by it. I see it. Like, all right, you're getting it's preseason. You know, like you're getting it's preseason to your preseason. That's cool. You know, I'm waiting for the season to start. Then I always said, like, just because I feel like this now, a player could always win you over, bro.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes players take a year to adapt to the league, or a couple months. You know, his first year, injuries, baby mama drama, whatever the fuck it was. I mean, shit happens, bro. He's a human being.
Yep.
I'm still upset though, because regardless of all that, he looked way out of shape last season. All kinds of weird shit happened last season. Whatever. This season, you look like you're ready to go. You look like in the best shape I've possibly seen you in your career, and we'll see what happens. I'm whatever about it. I'm like I said, I scroll through this shit, just like the article. Like, so prove me wrong on the field. But I do not have a problem with you talking your shit online, or you know, showing love to the Galaxy. I'm never gonna be mad at that. It just shows that you, at least on paper, it shows that you want to be here. And I can't be mad about that.
Nothing. What you got to say?
I get accused of being Ted Lasso. I'm really optimistic. I get really mad at the end of every year. I'm like, fuck this. And then, like, the preseason stuff starts to come around, and that little bit of hope comes back, you know? I'm too optimistic. I love the team so much it hurts and it makes me sick. I want to believe him. I want to. I don't think it means anything, like Masa said, until he does something, right? But I'm a bit of a sucker for it, I have to admit. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. I hope it's true. I want to be won over. We'll see what happens. He was terrible last year. Can't lie about that.
Yeah. Man, preachers are choir, right? I am the optimistic one in the group for Straight from the Stands. I always want to see the best. I always want to, hope for the best or whatever, even though at the end of the year it's face palm, right? But yeah, same thing though. I want to believe Chicharito because again, I believed in him last season, right? And then he proved me completely wrong. But I still believe he has those qualities. So I'm hoping his mental state is right and his physically he looks right. So I'm hoping this could only be for the better and he shows out. Hopefully we build a team around him too that could kind of supply him a little more than we did last year, right? For when he was on the pitch. Man, it's a lot of ifs. But I am a little optimistic again, right? I'm turning the page again and I'm kind of like, let's go, right? It's just so stupid, I know, but still, it's here. That's the way
it's like peaking a little bit. It's like the little ray of light. Yeah,
it's coming in again. And we're getting closer. And speaking of that, right? Preseason. We heard dates for preseason. So actually, let's start here. The league start got pushed back about a week and a half or so, or 2 weeks. Is now the 17th of April. That's what the target start. And we'll see if that sticks. And then I think everything gets pushed out like a week or something after that, right? So season starts April 17th or the weekend of April 17th. Preseason starts March 8th. But there's voluntary... So it starts March 8th because on March 1st, players are required to enter a mandatory quarantine, right? If you want to do it beforehand, you could start your quarantine a week before March 1st, so you could start preseason March 1st, which is interesting. It's just around the corner. We've got about 2 weeks till that happens. And I know for a fact that they're looking to start March 1st. They're already doing some of this because the boys are doing training suggested by the coaching staff, right? Because they can't actually tell them how to train, but they've been suggesting them how to. Yeah, that exactly. Bunny ears everywhere. They've been suggesting the workouts and it's voluntary, so nobody has to do it. But it seems like the response is there, and most of the players are already doing that at home. As well as some of the guys linking up and working out at the beach. I know Jonah and Julian have been going to the beach and working out together. So you start seeing that already. Everything it's that type of year, right? It feels like it's a month late, but it's happening. It's getting ramped up. We're hearing dates. We're starting to see pictures of players working out. Like there was a picture of Jonah, or Galaxy tweeted a picture of Jonah working out. It's happening. I'm ready for this. Looking forward to this. So March 1st is when we should start seeing this. So before I move on and talk about the meat of this, with the meeting with the coaching staff, did I miss anything? Did I miss any cheese topics?
I saw something earlier. Jonah posted a thing on Instagram with his jersey pulled up, and he's talking about life challenges getting in the way, and I'm a little worried something has happened already in this preseason training, or there's more news to be made there. It was weird. It was like the last thing I saw before I came on here. I just throw that out there.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that.
I seen that too. I just didn't understand what he was trying to say. So
let me go check that out.
I think that there was more signings coming out this week.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll definitely. All right, hold on. Give me a second. I just gotta look at the story. You got to see what he was talking about.
I don't know. You never know with him.
Yeah, cryptic as fuck. Huh? He's cryptic as fuck. Yeah. So actually, signings and all that. Let's get into that. But Masa, before we go in, you actually mentioned it, and I didn't copy it over. That young DP, or not young DP. I forgot what they're calling it, but the young player under 22 contract that's going on. Do you remember what you're talking about? That Masa?
Which
the young
20?
Yeah. We're talking about we're just talking about that, how that, because that's going to come into play, right? So the thing is, if you could bring in a young player under the age of 22, right? with up to
And I think
500.
you could. Okay, I remember now. As long as he doesn't turn 22 or 23, I can't
23.
remember that.
He can turn 23
during the season. You can bring them in, and I think their salary is like around 600 something. It's like a high number, but it'll only, I think, only like 150K or like 200K count against your
I
cap.
guess it's kind of.
So it's like a kind of like a fake DP kind of thing, where it's like a small cap hit, but he's still making more money than that.
Yeah.
And as long as he's under 23 for the season, you could sign them onto that contract till they're 25.
So that's key, right? Because you find a nice gem, you can hold them for 3 years. Pay him the 600, 700K, whatever the cap is, but it only impacts 150, 200K on your salary.
And
that's
not only
major.
that, you could bring 3 of those players in.
Yeah.
At once. It's not just just one. So technically, it's like 3 young DPs, and then you still have your 3 DPs.
3 DPs. Yep. And I think 6. That. So actually, let me open up to you guys. What do you think of this rule, right? And just in terms for the league, in terms of what it could be for the LA Galaxy, what do you guys think about this? Because it seems like it's a big push to get young, talented players into the league.
Well, I mean, I think it's the smart move. I don't think, MLS foresaw the moving of all these young players right now, like going to Europe and succeeding, or just going out. And I think it's a perfect time. Like everything just aligned. Like, yo, like come to MLS. The players are moving.
Yeah,
like they're here for a year, or they've played 6 months here. And Reynolds already went to Roma, and he's only played 6 months of MLS soccer. So I think it's a good stepping stone. And I think that all the teams that can possibly take advantage of this should take advantage of this. I think every team could take advantage of this. Just because it's like the big stars want to come to big cities, but players that are be like, oh, well, I could go to MLS for a year or 2 and then make my jump to Europe. I'll just go play anywhere. So I think if people ain't taking advantage of this, they're gonna get left behind in the league.
Yeah, I think it's that push to like the average age is coming down, right? Like the Almiron's coming, and the Central Americans coming, and the South Americans coming, and the league, I agree, moving towards more of a selling model, right? Well, you come and play and develop, and look at our players. Aronson, like the kid out of Philly, he's super young. I think he's homegrown, but the jump is getting easier and easier. So I agree. I would like to see the Galaxy find a balance with that, and like we're kind of doing that already this season, I guess, with our own. But we're gonna have to get creative in looking where we find players to keep up, I think.
Yeah. Here's the thing though, right? Like I think it's so lucrative because of the eyes MLS gets, right? I don't think MLS is up to par with the big leagues when it comes to the skill, right? I think there's still there's still a big gap there between skill. But when it comes to like the marketing and the eyes and the broadcasting that MLS has, that's up to par with a lot of the leagues, right? Especially going forward. I think this is the last year that we have the individual clubs have contract, right? After this year, like everything is going to be under one. It's probably going to be ESPN Plus because they seem like they're just taking everything they can. And once you do that, like it's game over, right? Because now you have like ESPN, like Disney, that monster machine behind you distributing fucking MLS games. It's a wrap. I think marketing wise, and if you're a young player from like Central America or from South America, or even like the lower European leagues, and you get a chance to be seen every week out, like it's gonna be enticing for any player. I think it's big. I think it's big on the league. I'm actually really excited for it, as long as the team's actually putting the work in and scout the right players, right? Also interesting to see how this mechanic works for like our really young promising players, right? Because we lost some players just recently, right? A couple years ago that are now like striving in the Bundesliga because we didn't pick them up. This gives a mechanism to pick them up, pay them out, right? Your talent. We think your talent. Here's 600K. It's only going to hit us 150K, and we'll keep you on the books for the next 3 years. See if you develop it into something or not, right? Or we could flip you, but we got you locked in. Interesting. It's really interesting dynamic. I think it's the first time in a long time that I like a move that the league in general is doing, right? Because I think it's pushing the league towards better better football and just more money being moved around in the league, and I think it's a good thing. Yeah, so that's interesting. That got brought up actually in the conversation I had with the conversation we had with the coaching staff. Again, it was leadership group from all the supporter groups, Outlaws, Galaxians, ACB, and Lars, B Block representatives as well, and it was just it was the coaching staff and the leadership group. Let me start by saying this, right? I've been able to have and be in some of these meetings with prior coaches, right? And just at the FO, it had been a very long time. I think since maybe 2010, 2011 Bruce Arena, since we had real candid talk with the coach, right? Like where it wasn't pre-written for him and the way he was an answer, it was just a conversation. And that right there is it's a move in the right direction for sure, right? There was, when you're talking to somebody, the head coach of the Galaxy, and he can answer to you and say, "Not sure yet," right? And doesn't have to come up with a fabricated answer that kind of throws it away. You get a sense of okay, like you're a person. We're having a conversation, and you're thinking about this and all that, right? So I took away from there. I took away from that. Like Greg Vanny knows what the fuck he's doing. He knows what he wants, and he has a team around him now that all are kind of vibing in the same direction. Kevin Hartman is partly the one joining his staff that wasn't already in Toronto, but it seems like he should have been, right? Because the way they vibe with each other is fucking dope, man. Like you see them just bouncing around each other, and it's super cool. But let me get to the shit you guys want to hear. One of the guys asked them what's up? It's been dark. It's been kind of quiet. Like, what are we doing, right? And he responded very candidly that they're looking for 7 or 9 players. Like they're looking to bring in 7 or 9 players, and that you'll see some of these things happening sooner rather than later. That kind of puts me at ease a little bit, because if you look at a roster right now, you could tell you need 7 or 9 pieces to come in. Right?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt. But something I've been thinking about, right, are we seeing Vanny is known for bringing in these league guys, right? Like the guy we just signed, and getting the most out of them. And we're used to big and flashy and what have you. Do you think this silence or is anything you've seen indicate that this silence is kind of preparing us for a more, I don't want to say honest, but a more working team,
more tame signings, and not
like a more tame G's? Can I ask that?
Yeah. Listen, I didn't thought about that, but I think you might be onto something, right? Which I don't necessarily think, and now I can't confirm that or not, right? But I think you might be onto something. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, right? If you remember our dynasty years, Bruce did a lot of that, right? Like he brought in players that he knew from the league, that had been in the league, and he made really good teams with them. And then he brought in the pieces that he didn't have from other places, and that worked, right? So I can't necessarily say that, yeah, that's what he's doing. But if that is, we have a history of that working out for us, right? I don't think we ever shy away from bringing in, the big names when they're available. I don't think we ever shy away from that. But if you could sprinkle in these players that have been around the league, and that can really put something to work, I'm not opposed to that at all. You know what I mean? It seems like it's
the McGee's and Gordos, right?
Gargan, right? Big Red in the middle, even there's numbers they could bring out, right? Juan Pablo. Oh no, that didn't work out. Juan Pablo, but it's that though, right? It's bringing these players that have experience in the league and that are blue collar, right? They're working men and they actually contribute a lot to the team. So I hadn't thought about that, but that's
if they bring grit, man. If they bring grit, and want to win, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's something that, ask Massa. We complained about it all last season, that these fools had no grits and they had no fight. You know what I mean? It was just kind of oh, I got punched, let me roll over the whole season. So if you get somebody can take a punch and give one back, yeah, I'm all for that. I mean, not I mean, I wasn't talking literally. I don't want nobody punching each other and getting reds, but you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so 7-9 players. They mentioned that there's 7-9 players who are already targeted. There is not like a big search as players that are already targeted, but what's taking them longer is the fact that they can't go out and actually watch the game or meet with them in person because of all the restrictions right now. So it's been slower because of that, but there are players who are targeted, and their names have been kept out of the media, you know, because of that. They don't want to start speculation because they don't know how fast they get stuff done. So they're just kind of keeping the name. And it seemed legit. I'd say that much. It seemed like it wasn't something like they're just kind of scrambling to hold us back and, you know, they'll get everybody worried. It seemed real legit. Like he seemed like they knew what they want. He went into talking about like there's here's something interesting. He said like we want the 1 through 10 players to be high caliber, but the 11 through 18 have to be on par. Like it can't be a drop off. He said a big thing that from his perspective last year saw it was that like they had like high quality players when they were not performing, like the next one up was 3, 4, 5 steps behind, right? So there wasn't that interchangeable pieces where you could just move them and they keep ticking. Like there was a big step down when doing. So like his thought is definitely bringing in players who are, you know, 11 through 18, but still very capable to hop in at any point and fix it, which is good to hear, right? We'll see what the execution is. And he mentioned Oniel Fisher, and then he said a minimum of 1 center back, right? A possibility of 2, but a minimum of 1 center back. He did say that there was a name he didn't share with us, but there was a name they're looking for in CB. Now, let's stop here and let's have a chat about this. Is 1 center back enough?
Absolutely.
1 center back's enough for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Talk to me about
I saw this little mini doc, and I don't want to bring up another team, but because it's my team, and then be like, oh, here we go, talking about Atleti. But before Simeone signed with Atleti, I'm gonna give you an example. The backline was Juan Fran, Diego Godin, Miranda, and Felipe Luis, and that team, that same backline before Simeone took over was one of the most scored on teams in La Liga. Can you imagine that? Like that?
No, I was gonna say the opposite actually before you mentioned that.
Exactly. So after watching that, it kind of made me realize, like, yo, maybe coaching is, you know, like we don't give coaching enough credit. So it just depends. To me, maybe 1 CB, and I don't want to say people is the big shit or Steris is gonna have a breakout season. So I think with 1 CB is enough, but I think coaching is very important, especially defensively. And when I heard that, I couldn't believe it because I don't remember that, and that's crazy to me. So I think that, you know, just going off of that, I think coaching is very important, and we'll see. Hopefully, the coaching staff get their shit together, and if they do decide to bring in just the 1 CB, I'm hoping that they work on that first because defense wins titles. So I'm gonna be optimistic about that.
I just want to see them work as a unit, man. You know, I think they need directions, and they need to gel. They need to work as a unit. I still don't know who the voice is going to be back there, though. And that's the only piece missing for me. Is that center back they're going to bring in the voice, or is it a filler and they expect, you know, Steris to be the voice or whoever, people or Bond even? I don't know. Yeah. But on top of all of that, yeah, the coaching and I want to see them play as a unit. I miss that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, man, both great points, right? Like that voice. You're right. Like who's bringing it? Steris could bring it, but if he has 1 or 2 mistakes, he loses the credibility of his voice, right? Like, so he can yell all he wants, but if he makes 1 or 2 mistakes, that's gone, right? And he's prone to that. You can say the same thing for people, and you can even say that about Dupuy, right? Because Dupuy, for as green as he is really good, but he makes mistakes, right? Araujo, way too young for that, right? Maybe Afanya, like he could be, but I never paid attention to him on the field, so I don't necessarily see how vocal he is with his team, right? So we'll see that. Bond, I think it'd be hard pressed because he's new, he's young, he never really had like the first choice keeper status, right? Like, and we're assuming that's him, and by all accounts, the coaching staff is looking at him as the number one as well. But yeah, you're right. Like that voice, right? And I always go back to talk about Berhalter because he completely changed the face of the defense for us when he came in because he became that voice, right? And he reeled in Omar at first, and then he worked Omar and AJ, and then he had sorry, I'm going back to old days, and I'm kind of getting happy, but it was that effect, right? Where like he kind of reeled him in and said, "Hey, we're gonna move as a unit," as you were saying. So yes, 100% that. And then to Maz's point, like. That is crazy because that line that you mentioned with Leti, like I remember it being just super dominant, not letting anything through, right? And the fact that like Simeone and his staff that kind of put that fight in their girth to kind of lock him down, it's really interesting, really good point. And I'm just gonna keep rolling with this, like when there was questions asked about the defense to them, and he said like, yeah, you guys are right, like the defense was shaky, the defense had a lot of flaws, but it's also like. The midfield had to do with that, right? Because the midfield would be pulling the defense out, and now like the whole thing is out of shape. So we don't have the shape defensively. The counterattacks was done. So he said like he doesn't want to pinpoint the defense being like the one thing they need to fix. It's really the whole team that has to be moving together in order not to get pulled out that way, right? Because he said he's seen it many times where like one player stayed up too high, so the other player had to pull in higher, and that kind of shifted everything. The counterattack was on this side, and that was a wrap. And you guys don't even have to, I'm pretty sure you don't have to think very hard to remember a play like that, right? Like we've seen that over and over and over and over again last season. So they've seen it as well. Like they're not oblivious to that. They've seen it as well. And so therefore they're thinking of bringing in 2 to 3 midfielders, right? They're looking for a solid defensive mid, a box to box, and for sure a cam. A creative player who they want to bring in. Again, they're mentioning they have targeted players they want to bring in. No names were given, but they have targeted players on that. Let's talk about this for a second, right? Because from the only positions that I always thought like were pretty set was the center mid positions, right? And I'm envisioning this being line of 4. 2 CMs, right wing, left wing, a cam, and a striker, right? Like that's my vision for this team. Don't know if that's Rick's vision, but I felt that Jonah Leggett in the CM was a lock. Like that was a lock. Hearing that they want to bring in a defensive mind and a box to box. What are you thinking? You think these guys are going to be backups to Leggett and Jonah, or you think that we're looking to bring in somebody to actually main those positions?
That Instagram post, man.
That's what I was referring to. That's how we're gonna connect it. You did a good job of hiding your tinfoil hat. I like it. So what you think?
I don't know, man. I think first of all, if he says that we're trying to bring in people who the skill level is not going to drop, intensity is not going to drop, then as long as they're up to the challenge, and they're willing to fight for the spot, I don't mind benching whoever has to get benched if they're not on one that week. So as long as it's quality player or a player who might not be quality, but just steps up to occasions, bro. We've had players like that before where they come in for someone. It's like, yo, like why isn't this guy getting minutes? And I mean, we lost Kitchen, we lost Corona. Those are players that it sounds like those are the players that he's trying to replace. Defensive mid and box to box. So we're lacking depth in the midfield right now.
Quality depth too, right? Quality depth because there is a drop off, and we saw it last year. Let me go back to what Nelson had mentioned, right? About like bringing players and possibly players who have experience in MLS. Interesting because they mentioned they want their targeted players are players who are just about to hit the prime. So they're looking for players who have been scaling up, and they're just about to hit the prime, and they want to get them then, so they can develop them at their prime and for the team, which is really again, really good to hear, right? We've been a team who's relied on players who are established elsewhere, and we wanted to bring them in and just kind of perform for us as well, right? The fact that the Greg is really thinking of bringing in players who are about to peak, who are about to hit their prime. I think that's like, saying it loud sounds like, well, duh. But the fact that like that's the case, or that's the way they're moving, is exciting for me, right? It's really exciting for me because of what I just said. We relied on so many players who have already been established and quite possibly over the prime, or just getting on the other side of the hump. Seeing them come in with new players, or looking at players who are just about at the prime. Really, really, really a good move. And the same line, in the same sentence, he mentioned that young DP, or that youthful players. That's what he called it. Bringing in the youthful players. I mean,
see, the reason that's exciting to me about finding a player right before they hit their peak, that means that you have a proper scouting staff, because or you think when they're about to hit the peak if they haven't peaked already.
Yep.
And then you're talking about this young player thing, whatever the fuck you said. I don't understand what you said, but
youthful players.
Finding the right players to fit your system prior to peaking is perfect, because by season 2, your first season, you build, you get your style going, you imply everything that you want the team to do. So by season 2, when those players finally do peak, or on their peak, or about to peak, they're rolling and they're playing your system. So I mean, that to me is exciting in itself. That you said that. I had no idea that that's what they were looking for, but I mean,
yeah,
that sounds good to me, bro.
And it's the way that the league is moving, right? We're seeing it just how often they're bringing teams in, and not only just like the big metropolis cities, or just like even like the Midwest teams are bringing in talent that is really young, that it's South American, Central American, and if that's the way it's moving, and I think, again, I'll repeat myself as I did before, like I think that's the right move. I think that's where the league needs to move. The fact that now we have a coach who sees it in the same way, it's really interesting, right? Because I don't think Shiggy wasn't that, right? GBS wasn't that. Hey, here, let me just kind of sidebar here, right? Let me sidebar here, because I don't know if it's the language barrier or what it was, but there's a very good sense of confidence from Vanny that I never.
Cool. No, I was just gonna say it's and along with all of that, you set up like a club culture, right? Like that was the big knock on GBS, right? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And it's exciting to think about those pre-peak players, I guess we can call them, mentoring younger players and integrating with the players that have been here for a while. Like, there's a plan.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really big part of it. And it helps me trust Vanny. And I hadn't heard any of that either. So I'm happy to hear that they're at least thinking about a system and about culture, and like putting a system in place.
And I have I'm going into the culture things. He says some things about culture that are super interesting, insightful too, right? But let me just keep talking about the players and what he mentioned about players. Like Vanny is definitely looking forward to having Pavon in the lineup, right? Like there's no doubt about it. Like he talks about Pavon as in like, we're working on getting him back because we want him back. And he says something about like he had been like really looking forward to working with a speedy winger that's creative, right? But he said that he also needed somebody on the other side to do the same. So like for them, I think one of the targets is getting that second winger who's also speedy, right? Which bodes really well for the player we talked about last week with Isim Balik, right? From LASK.
Update on that, man. He scored 2 this weekend.
No shit.
Yes, sir.
And
it was, I think it was his birthday yesterday or today. So happy birthday to Future G.
Birthday brace.
Let's go. So he's looking for that, right? He's looking for to be dynamic on the wings. And then one thing that he mentioned like a few times over was that he's looking for that speed as well. Like he wants speed down the middle. He wants speed on the wings. Like he wants to stop like that weak counter attack defense that we have. He wants players that could, get up and down the field fast, which it seems so simple, right? Because it's like yeah, we're slow. Like, you know what I mean? Like it seems so simple.
Last season, like we're one of the slowest looking teams in the league, and man, I'm glad someone watches soccer. Like,
and it's that right? Listen, and maybe GBS noticed too, but he just never said it out loud. And the fact that he does like that, and again, and I'm walking this fine line where I'm not saying too much, so I don't break that trust that he has with us. But he's talking very candidly and saying just like maybe things that are obvious, like we need more pace, but shit that we hadn't heard before, right? From anybody in the front office or anybody like acknowledging the fact that we're slow, right? Like he acknowledges and says we need more pace, and that's just not on the wings. It's like down the middle on the wings. And yeah, we're doing more pace. Like I'm glad somebody, like Masa was saying, like somebody's looking at soccer, somebody's saying like the basic shit. And honestly, I think that's what we need. We need like the basic shit locked down before we think about anything else.
It seemed so broken last year. Like and last year's the crazy year, right? But like they get the ball and they're like don't know what to do with it. It goes back to the system thing. I'm excited for players to have instructions.
Yeah, that right.
Specific ones.
Yeah, and that he's talked about that. Yeah. So he went into that saying, when he was talking about it, it's not only defense, it's the midfield sometimes that has to cover the defense. They have to make sure that you're moving it, and that each player needs to have their specific role, right? They what they have to do every single game, in and out. Like this is what you got to do. But he also wants different qualities. So like when that's locked down, you're able to do something else as well, right? Like the way he's thinking is it seems like it's a very like here's the base and let's build from that, right? But like let's have the base be secure, be like completely locked down. And yes, that's exactly what we need. We need foundation before we fucking think of anything else. And I'm all about that. And I'm gonna end up with a little stuff that's not on field, but it's definitely more of the culture, more of what they're doing outside of the pitch, right? And for Vanny, the whole thing has been culture, building a culture, and that's like with the fans, with the players, and players with the fans. Just he wants the whole thing to be unison, and understanding who the Galaxy is, and what they represent, right? He's been strong on saying it's not relying on your history, but it's respecting it and building on top of it. I mean, just again, I'm a sucker because I get sold easily. But he's saying the right things. He's saying shit that like that seem very obvious, but he's saying it. But let's get in depth, right? There's overhaul going down with the training facilities. They've knocked down the gym to make it wider and have different sections there now for pre-workout and post-workout, plus like their gym stuff. They're creating a video room, which I thought was really interesting, right? Because apparently before they had a players lounge where they'll throw tape out there and they'll just kind of kick back and watch it. He said, nah, I need like a classroom. So they're building it up with like an auditorium style seating where they can really kind of go in there and focus. I'm saying, right? Like listen, it seems arbitrary, it seems small, but like it's like, if you go in there, you got beanbags and you're watching TV versus you go in there, you got a desk and you're watching TV. Like, it sets a difference.
After practice, I'm taking a fucking
it's a mindset.
Bro.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And it seems, again, it's arbitrary and it's so small, but it's stuff like that I think will put a little pressure, put the seriousness that you need to, right? Like this, you're not here just to relax for the next 30 minutes and watch a play. Like, let's focus in and here's what we're doing.
Like the work ethic. Like, get back to the work ethic,
Yeah. They created a space for the sports science department. So they could go in there and kind of really analyze the players and analyze like where everybody's at. They're no longer going to be practicing in front of the stadium. They're going back, which I assume is going to be like the track and field as they did before. So it's again, like And that's what I'm really impressed and really excited about is the fact that Vanny's just not thinking, my starting 11 plus my subs. Like there is this whole thing coming around, and the fact that there's even talks about sports science. Because when's the last time any of us here heard sports science in the Galaxy at the same time? Right? Like, yeah, exactly. Like,
we're behind there,
right? And it's dope, man. It's again, I'm a sucker, so take it with a grain of salt because I believe into a lot of shit they're saying. But it's good to, but it's good to hear though. It's really good to hear because it's stuff that we've talked about. Like we don't hear about the sports science, we don't hear about the scouting, we don't hear about this and the other, and these things are being talked about.
They've been very close, and if that changes too, I'll be very happy. Like, just tell us what you're working on. We'll work with you. We'll support you. We'll support the team. Just tell us.
Man, in his dad thing, like that's what I've been most impressed about is that Vanny's been here for maybe a month, right? I can go back, and he's been on 2 meetings with us already. We got another one scheduled with leadership in this week, I think. Like he's being accessible. He wants to hear us. There was a point where he just kind of stopped the meeting. He's like, somebody asked a question. He stopped the meeting, and we kind of went into this conversation like candidly, just like we're having right now, right? And it was back and forth. There was questions asked, and it's not what I'm used to from the front office, from a coaching staff, from any other higher ups in the Galaxy, right? Like it's not what I'm used to, and the fact that that's changing, it bodes well, right? Because listen, if Vanny's plans doesn't work well, right? But he keeps us up to date what he's trying to do and what's happening. I'm be less hypercritical than I was before, right? Because like I understand, like okay, there's a process, right? I mean, last season was a joke, trust the process. Like everyone's kind of laughing because like who the fuck knew what the process was, right? With Vanny, it seems like here's the process. Here's what I'm trying to do, and that bodes that gives me a vote of confidence. Like that's where I want to be at. Did he say anything about Greg Vanny? Greg Vanny's asking me if Greg Vanny said anything about camps. Yes, he did. He said that that's one of the pieces, right? It's 3 CMs that he wants to bring in, box to box, a defensive midfielder, and the most important is the creative attacking midfielder. So yeah, he's there for there. He didn't want to give any names or just kind of hint at anything, but there's players there, and again, he did mention that all the 7 to 9 players they have are all already targeted with names on them. They're just not releasing that until there's anything to be released. Yep. Yeah. Dope. That's it. That's all I had for that meeting. Again, I take what I'm saying with a grain of salt because I'm sucker and I buy into shit. But it's sounding good, man. It's sounding better than it did last year. Sounding better than it did the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. So, like, I mean, it's. I think we would be in a better space. I'm more confident after hearing him talk, after hearing the coaches staff talk too, right? Like, I didn't say enough about them, but they all seem like they know each other. Like they know each other and they talk like they're in unison, and they could transmit that to the players, and so they could be in unison.
Yeah. I wonder if they can cut the shit too because of that, right? It's like, hey, like these are the problems we have. We've all played together. We know what it means, right? I think there's a lot to be said for that too, if they're being real with each other.
And it seems so. Right? Because like it's like the handoff of conversations. Like, I was trying to recall something that whatever point is at one point Vanny was talking and he's like, no, actually, you know what? You could answer this better. And you kind of shot it over to him, kind of stepped back and my man's ran with it, right? Like it's that type of thing. Like yeah, I'm the coach, but like this is really where you live at, take over. And he did, and that again, it's their team, right? Like you can tell that the staff, coach staff of the team, Kevin Hart being included in that. If they could just kind of relay that onto the players, I think we'll be all right, man. It's looking promising. I know it just talks with season coming up in about 2 months, preseason coming about in 2 weeks, preseason comes 2 weeks. So we'll see more of that and looking forward to it. But I think that's all I have for that meeting.
One more thing I want to add. I seen this on Twitter. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but it looks like Carlos Harvey's coming back.
Yep. Yeah, that seems like it's
looks like it.
That's your defensive midfield right there.
My man can be box to box, bro. Like I saw him last year. I think he can be box to box. I think he might have to lose, a few pounds just to be a little on the lighter side. I don't mind. I don't mind his weight. He's playing defensive, but if you can do box to box, might need to lose a couple pounds just to be a little more agile. But from what I saw from him, he's solid. I like him. That's not bad. And I mean, I think we're all in agreement that he's not. He won't be the starting center mid, but somebody could definitely come off the bench.
The player that it goes back to, like, man, you could develop that kid into something greater. He's young.
Yeah.
How old is
he has? I think he's like 22, 23.
Yeah. Yep.
I think he has a high ceiling. Like at least from what I've seen him play, G2s, and I always thought he was too good for G2. Hopefully he's MLS ready soon.
And that's the thing. Like in that position too. Like you don't have to be full of glitz and glamour, right? Like you just got to be a hardworking player, right? You got to be able to fucking throw your body around and stop the pass and create an outlet pass, right? Like it's a position that doesn't get a lot of limelight unless you're fancy and got twinkle toes and can move around. But there's a lot of players who just are hardworking. Yeah, there's a lot of players who just have to be.
What I like about him is the hard challenges. Like he always goes in hard.
Enforcer as fuck.
I feel like we missed that something.
Yeah,
he seems to have heart too. Like he's like, I want to play. I want to earn my spot.
Yeah, I mean, the kid is young, right? Like, the kid is young. You know he's gonna want it at that age. Like, you want it. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. If we got anything else, let's get into some questions. Go with that. For sure.
Questions. I thought those only came with George.
No, they're here. I'm not saying
I
that
don't
George.
have any question.
so let me hit you up with this. G-Man over on Street from the Stand Discord says, with this coaching staff comprised of a lot of former players, is there any former player you'd like to see in your dream coaching staff? I got one right off the bat that I've been wanting on some level. I've been wanting Cienfuegos in some level to be a coach. Like that man was so smart on the ball. Like he has to give that knowledge up to the team, bro. Like the one player, like right off the bat, it'll be Cienfuegos. I would love to see him in some way, somehow in coaching staff.
For me, just based off of needs on the team, even though it doesn't count because he has a job already, be Greg Berhalter.
Yeah, 100%. I'll take him as head coach after Vanny, maybe. I don't know, I have a soft spot for him. He was fucking GOAT. I love the guy. Nelson, you got anything?
Yeah, I'd love to see. He has a job too and a team, but I would love to see Donovan come back in some capacity and like whip up some of these kids into shape. He's always fiery in a quiet way. And I think he said he was open to it. Other than that, CN, same. Can't go
it's interesting because like with Donovan, like he's another player who also he's Donovan, right? I also would like for him to be here, but it has to be the right time, right situation,
for sure.
Where it doesn't bite
no
him
Frank
in the ass,
Lampards.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
No Frank Lampards over here.
I'm super protective over them too because they're like, they're like, I was there. They're my guys. They're the guys that I mean. I saw some shed tears for them, right? Like, don't fuck their legacy up, please.
Bring Stevie G over here.
No, okay.
Coaching.
Hey, he's doing well in fucking in Celtic, right?
Top-notch coach. Who would have thought?
Yeah. No, moving on. Glenn with 2 N's says, looks like we're signing depth at the moment. Which G2 players, if any, can you see filling 1 or 2 spots on the bench and one to fight for the start? Man. So there's Augie, right? There's Augie, and I'm impressed on Augie because I think Augie's really talented. Like he's talented. Like, there's no question about it. But do we bring him up and have him sit in the bench?
I don't think the time's right.
What do you think this time? What's the move for Augie then? And Glenn, we'll go back to your question, but let's talk about Augie for a second. What's the move for Augie this season, right? Because I'll shut up and let you guys talk about this. What's the move for him?
You want to go? You want to go first, Nelson? I want to hear your take on that.
I don't know. I know he's really hungry. I know he wants to come up. I have more questions than answers. Like, if he comes up, is Zubac in front of him? Like, why didn't we keep Wild? Like, back to that, right? Like, Wild could play. up there, I don't know. I don't think they have an idea of where to put him right now, and I worry about him sitting. It's more important for him to keep playing than to not. Even though I know he is hungry and fiery and he wants to come up, and I worry about like having a Traore situation with him where he like gets upset or whatever, and we lose him, or like Uli, right? Like he goes somewhere. I don't know what a position for him looks like on the first team.
Masa, give me a take on Nagi. What do we do with him?
My take is he's almost MLS ready. I don't think he's quite there yet. I think he needs half a season minimum, one more season in USL. This goes back to playing time. He's not going to start over Cheech. It doesn't look like we're going to at top at the moment. So, I mean, why waste that development on the bench? He needs game minutes, and I think one more season in USL. Once we establish what we're gonna play, what we're gonna do, then you bring him up next season when our style of play is set. And I think that's the move. I understand he's hungry. I understand he wants to be on the first team, but I just right now I don't think that's the right move for him or the Galaxy. And that's how I feel about that. Like I mean, I could be wrong. He might be MLS ready, but I just feel like he's missing a little something. And I think if he repeats the season he had last year or ends up winning Golden Boot with G2s, I mean, I think that's more than the shout that you need. Like, oh, well, I scored the goals I had to score. Here it is, you know.
And I don't think you guys are wrong with that or Masa. But there's something about like capping, putting a ceiling over like a promising player like that. I don't know how good it does for him, right? Because he excels in the USL. There's no question about it, right? Coming into season, I think there are people more aware of him, but I don't see how you stop that kind of talent in the USL, right? I don't think there's talent to match him.
What about the reserve league? Could there be a situation where he comes up and then he's like one of the leaders of the reserve teams? I don't know a whole lot about that new reserve system that they're implementing. Maybe if he's too good for USL, because the argument is to be made as well. Like, if he's too good for USL, then like, what is he doing other than reps? Could it be that he comes up and he features mostly on the reserve squad, whatever that looks like? I don't know. I'd have to look more into that, but maybe it's a happy medium.
Yeah, and I think my biggest trouble with everything around here is like, are we doing more damage to him by not pushing him, right? Because even reserve league, USL league, like I don't know if he's gonna get that push that he needs, right? Like Masa mentioned that he might not be MLS ready, and I'm not necessarily convinced that you get MLS ready in another season with USL or in the reserves for that matter. To be honest, right? Like there has to be a mechanism, and I don't know what that is, but there has to be a mechanism where he could showcase at a higher level and kind of really test himself there, right? Like,
so then if you're the Galaxy right now, and if you feel like, if I'm the Galaxy, if I'm in charge of these players, if I'm DTK, Augie Williams showed last season that he's too good for USL. I don't know if he's MLS ready, or maybe he is, but there's no way that I'm gonna bring him up and stump his minutes, and I send this man on loan.
Maybe
I think it for me, that's right. It's the move. If you don't feel, maybe to me, the reason why I want to say I'll give him another shot at USL is because he's done it this one season. You know, the prior year he was putting up numbers, but not like last season. So if I see within half a season those same numbers or similar numbers, where I'm gonna see like, oh, he's gonna hit those numbers again, or he's gonna do better than last season, then that's when you bring him up. But if you already think that he's too good for USL and he's not gonna get minutes in the starting 11, or he's not gonna get minutes on the first team, then you send him out.
Yeah.
And not to discourage him, it's more like I'm sending you out so you can get game time. So when you come back, you're ready for the first team.
Yeah, I think that's an easy sell, right? Like if that's a route, I think that's an easy sell. And again, I don't know if Augie is like, oh, I want to be pushed up, and I want a first team. I just assume that. I mean, he's a talented player. I assume he wants to play the first team. But yeah, it'd be interesting, right? It's really interesting to see where he's at and what the conversation is between DTK, Greg Vanny, and him are, right? Because I have to assume there is like a long-term plan for him, or at least a long-term vision for him, because he is talented. Like you would think that you want to see him come up the ranks and play for the first team at one point or another. Interesting. And that's it. Like, so going back to Glenn's question, and I don't know if you guys had any more answer. Like the one player that kind of always sticks out is Augie because of the talent that he is. I know we're excited about what's the midfielder we just signed to the first team, Masa, that you liked.
Defender, Neo. I like Neo a lot. Actually, he stood out to me. Jonathan Perez, Saldana. I just feel like the upside for Neo, especially in that position, like that we need a center back. I mean, there's so much upside to that kid. So, yeah, after them, for me, the other two guys in Curly and the G2 is Williams and Amir Cuevas. So, yep. I mean, we'll see though. I mean, like I said, if they feel like he's not first team ready, and if you're gonna stump his minutes, then you loan him out. I don't see how hard that could possibly be.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think we have to wait too long, right? Because at least per Troll Baxter, we should hear about some signings this week, and it seems like a lot of them are going to be like G2 players, right? Harvey being like the first one mentioned by name. So I don't think we wait too much longer to find out like if we are going to pull the players from G2, which would be dope to see, right? Also, because like I've been out here for years now talking about like we need to see more from the academy, we need to see more from G2, and if this is like how the bug is rolling, I'm not necessarily mad at it. So let's see what comes about it.
It was DTK's plan too, right? He was saying that since he came in too to create the pipeline. So if it bears fruit, it bears.
Yeah, and he's done it before with Tigres or Chivas, and then also with like the underage national team Mexico. So he's used to that. He's used to dealing with like the younger kids and bringing them up. So give it time. And again, at least for this season, I think we'll wait. Like next Monday, we'll have more to talk about because it seems like that's happening pretty soon. All right, moving on.
Before we move on, so people understand this, not every player that's in the youth academy prospers. Like you have to understand that. Like it's a very small window, right? Like you bring in all these players doesn't mean all 11 players are gonna break out and be superstars or the next. Not even the next Julian. Like you have to understand. Like you're taking a gamble on these kids. You put your faith in these kids, and some of them pan out, some don't. So just remember that.
And not only pan out, but like most of them are not going to pan out for the G's. Doesn't mean that won't pan out for another team, right? Well, another league, but for the G's, I think for as much as we want to have pipeline there, like we're always going to be the G's. We're always going to look to, for some names and notoriety there. So to have that in mind. All right, last question. Is it? Yeah, it is the last question. Pancho de la Galaxia. Again, my man threw us the F1 question last week, so I fucks with him. For this upcoming season, would you be disappointed if you see Julian playing on the wing to win again, as opposed to playing in natural position right back? How do you feel about Fisher signing as depth at right back? Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about it. I know Nelson brought that up a little bit. So why don't you take the lead in that? Would you be disappointed to see him out wide instead of playing right back?
I don't know. I mean, there's overlap in that position, right? I'd be a little disappointed. I would. I think he's a right back and he should be a right back, and we should develop him as a right back and give him minutes as a right back. So he brings a little bit of creativity, as we have seen in that wing role. But I would hope our defender can defend, and whoever we put in the wing position can play the wing position, right? I'm kind of tired of these, like, let's put people where they are and like see what happens. Like I want everybody, it goes back to, I feel like I've been saying it a lot. Like I want everybody to have their job and work on their job. and thrive in their job and just play your position, man.
Yeah, I'm bored of that. Marcel, what you think?
Julian Araujo is a defender. He's not a winger. He shouldn't be playing at the wing position. That's that.
Yep. Yeah, listen, I think when we've seen Araujo in the wing, it's been really like a stopgap move, right? Like a bandit or something. Like we didn't have another winger. We didn't, like he has speed. Let's throw him out there. But that's not really what we want to see him play.
Practical reason,
Yeah.
Not to. It's not because that's where he plays his best. No, it's because our team is shit. We have to plug him there to make the other team play a different way.
To counteract.
That's what.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And is that right? Is that mentality that I don't want to see, right? Not saying that Julian can't get us out of a pickle when we need to, but we shouldn't be in that pickle to begin with, right? Like we should have a dedicated right winger, right? Like that's gonna be playing there week in, week out. So Araujo could be a right back. And again, like I've been on here saying like I want to see Araujo be the starting right back 3-4 years, and then he gets shipped off somewhere off, right? But he leaves here being like a stable, fucking anchor point for the team as right back. Like that's what I want to see from Araujo. And it's like, from the youth to being shipped out because he's dope. That's what I want to see from him. So yeah, I probably would be upset to see him play wing just because that means we somehow fucked that up and we couldn't get another winger to play the wing. So I would be upset, but I'm really hoping that we don't have to do that.
Unless he turns into the fucking Gareth Bale, dog, left back, turn left wing.
Golfer? Oh, never mind. Sorry.
like if that's the case, then fuck yeah, I play him at wing. But I just don't see it at the moment.
Yeah, me neither. All right, and that's that for the questions. It was light day questions, which I don't mind. There's not a lot to talk about, so I didn't get it. Nelson, again, thank you very much for hopping on. No late notice, but man, I really appreciate you hopping on. Do me a favor, plug G30, plug everything you're doing. Let us know where we can find you and what the fans can find you.
Yeah, man. Well, I just want to thank you guys. I've listened to the show a long time. It makes me very happy to be here talking to you and doing something myself and working collaboratively with, people I've watched and, love for the community. Appreciate all the love everybody's given us and the support. And we really, really appreciate it. You can find us at G30 Podcast on Twitter. We're running pretty much everything out of there. We also play as Chanchos in Liga Galaxia against you guys.
Yeah. You guys coming back next season?
What's up?
You guys coming back next season? So you guys can leave because at worst I knew we had Chanchos to fight over the wooden spoon, and then you left us, and that's not fair. I need you back.
We'll be back. We're gonna a bunch of us are doing the Mixer Cup, and I'm sure there'll be news about that. So looking forward to that. But G30, your 30-minute podcast Thursdays. It usually publishes between Thursday night and Friday morning. And yeah, just come get your quick Galaxy fix. End of the week. Thank you guys again. It's been super fun.
For sure. We'll definitely I'll put the link to your Twitter on the description on YouTube, same as a description on all the audio podcatchers. So again, thank you for being here. For sure. Couple last things before we head out. I have actually Mixer Cup, as you brought it up. The player pool has been closed. We'll talk about like the live draft coming up this week. I got to talk to the league office to find out when we want to do that. But that's coming up. In case you didn't sign up and you still want to sign up, you want to play just a friendly cup, Pro Clubs Club. They're really intended to kind of get G's community who play on Xbox together and play for a little bit. Make sure you reach out to Liga Galaxia on Twitter. ACB stuff. We got our first charity event of the year is going to be a blanket drive for the homeless in city of Los Angeles. We'll have more details coming out for you, but just know it's going to be a drive-through. We are going to be accepting new blankets because COVID and all the sanitary things that you have to do in order to be able to get that up. So we're only going to be accepting new blankets. We do have some links where you get some really cheap ones that are really good. All the more information coming out, as well as your first chance to pick up the LA Galaxy, LA Kings hat if you guys bought tickets for the ACB, which seems like a long ass time ago, but it was last year. We're going to have a mechanism for you to pick them up. all that. Keep in the lookouts on Twitter and the socials. We'll update on that really, really soon. Anything else? I don't know if I missed anything else. If I did, then I'll tweet about it.
Good night, dog. That's what you're missing.
That's what I'm missing. All right. With that being said, it's another episode of Straight from the Stance. So, boy, Rudy, I'm Smarts on Twitch. I'm Smarts on Twitter. I'm Smarts on the gram.
Peace, love, and cheese up.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
On the 57 and missing. All right, boys. Have a good night. Peace.
Peace.